Hey everyone, so I'm doing a recording this morning. This recording is just specifically to go over the wind loft, basically the leg section burn calculations of your flight plan. So this is assuming that you already have all of your weight and balance done. You've figured out your route, you figured out your flight level, you've figured out basically all that stuff. You've done your initial fuel, you've done your simplified fuel. So this is basically to the point where you're ready to start beginning to calculate your legs and break them up and basically do them all individually, looking at the charts, doing your wind calculations, ground speed, heading, all of that stuff. So we are starting from that point, and I am doing this for the Phoenix to Denver flight plan. So what I'm going to go ahead and show you is what I have selected for my route. Based on the NOTAMs and the MELs and everything else in the weather packet, the route briefing, I have chosen Phoenix, St. John's 8 to Albuquerque, J13 to Alamosa, and then the Larks 8 arrival into Denver. So that's my route. I am at flight level 270. That's taking into account the PAC MEL, which took me down to 310, and then the autopilot MEL, which then took me out of RVSM airspace, which makes it go down to 270 because I'm going east to Denver. So I need to be on an odd flight level. Just a few other numbers to throw out there at you. Let's see, on my initial fuel was just going to go down to my weight and balance. For my initial fuel, I have 8,842 pounds. I believe I had like 5,400 for the burn to Denver, 800 for the burn to the alternate. Takeoff weight 65,813 for me. I put everybody at the front. I'm got all of my stuff within center of gravity, so everything is good there. Landing index, or landing weight, I should say, 60,272. That was based off my initial fuel. Once I did the average headwind for the entire flight and average heading, I came up with a simplified burn of 5,700 and takeoff fuel 9,000. So it was a little bit higher on my simplified, so that's ultimately what I'm going to use is the 5,700. My 800 pounds on my alternate was the same as my initial that I got on the simplified. So anyway, we've got all that done, ready to begin our actual leg calculations. So what I need to start out with here is Phoenix to top of climb. So based on that, the very first thing I'm looking at here, doing my climb out segment, is I need to know what ISA chart I'm using to climb out of Phoenix. So we need to know what ISA is in Phoenix. So I'm going to first go to my weather packet. I'm going to go all the way up to Phoenix, take a look at the METAR. It says it's 40 degrees in Phoenix right now. And Phoenix, so 40 degrees Celsius. And if we go to Sky Vector, I'm going to bring up Phoenix Airport here. Phoenix elevation is 1,134 feet above sea level. So if I am at 40 degrees Celsius and I'm just over 1,000 feet above sea level, ISA in Phoenix should be just below 13 degrees. So it should be between 13 and 12. Closer to 13 though, because it is only 1,000 feet above sea level. So if I am at 40 degrees in Phoenix and it should be 13, I'm sitting at ISA plus 27. Okay, so that's the first thing you need to know, is we're sitting at ISA plus 27 in Phoenix. Okay, so now we are going to go down and I am going to go to my climb chart. So here you see ISA minus 10. Remember, we're going the highest chart we have here, so ISA plus 20 ultimately is what we're looking for. Just need to let the computer catch up. ISA plus 15, ISA plus 20. Okay, now if you remember, going back to this, takeoff weight is basically 65,813, so we're going to round that to 66,000 pounds. That back where it needs to be. So we're going to be up here 66,000 pounds, and this is one of the rare instances that we actually have. We're right on our weight and going to flight level 270 here. So all of my data, no averaging needed here. It's all in one box. Kind of nice. So what we're looking at here is our time from Phoenix to top of climb is going to be 17.9 minutes. It's going to be 106 miles, and it's going to burn 1,886 pounds of fuel, and our true airspeed is going to be 355. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go right into my flight plan chart and transfer that information over. So true airspeed 355. Don't have that magnetic course number yet, but we can go back and get that in a minute. Remember, we do not do winds for our climb and descent legs, so going to omit that here for just a minute. The only thing I'm going to put here in the middle is that we're using the ISA, well, that the Phoenix is at ISA plus 27. So our ground speed also is going to just stay at 355. So we know our total distance here was 106. Time was 17.9, and our burn was 1886. Now just make sure I got those right. Let's go back and take another look. 17.9 minutes, 1,886 pounds of fuel, 355 on the speed, and 106 on the distance. Okay, so we got that all in there. I'm going to go back into SkyVector just for reference here and just go take a look at what my average heading was. I gotta type in the plan again. Okay, so there's the plan. This heading leaving Denver here, or sorry, leaving Phoenix, it looks like we start out leaving on a 056. Okay, so I'm just going to go plug that in to here. And plug it in right there. So those don't change. So that's where we're starting out at. I'm just going to also input my weight in here, 65,813. That was my takeoff weight. So now I'm going to come down here and basically do my math and get my weight starting for the next leg. So 65,813 minus off that 1,886 pounds of fuel is now going to be 63,927 starting my next leg. Now, remember, after we do our climb out, we actually are going to skip straight to our top of descent. We also need to go in and figure out exactly where this top of climb point ended for us, and then going to figure out where our top of descent is. So staying on the top of climb for just a minute here, go back in. We need to figure out where along the route this actually is. So I'm going to click on this thing here that says my nav log. So here's this. And remember, 106 miles is where it is. So I'm going to start by just starting in Phoenix and start adding these distances together. So that first one is 40.2, and then that next one from Fort to St. John's is 114.7. So that means that from Phoenix to St. John's, VOR, it is 154.9 miles. So we obviously know that our top of climb happens before St. John's. So it's actually about 48.9 miles before we get to St. John's. So going back to the map here, just looking along our route. So here's our route coming out of Phoenix. There's the St. John's VOR. There's the Verno intersection. So coming off of St. John's, that's 26, 39. So somewhere in this area here is going to be our top of climb. So we don't need to know exactly where it's at. We just need to know the distance, which we already have, 106 miles. So it's somewhere in this area. The reason we're figuring that out is just to where we're going to start our next leg. Our next leg is most likely going to be top of climb all the way to Albuquerque, because that's where we pretty much go in a straight line, and then at Albuquerque we turn north. So, but before we do that, let's go figure out our top of descent. So top of descent into Denver. We know that it's going to be via the Larks 8 transition. We also know that it is on descent. So that's all we really know so far. Now remember, the shortcut to figuring out your weight. The first thing you need to know is, what is my weight at top of descent? Well, we don't exactly know what that is yet. So what we need to do is we need to go look at our landing weight, which I have jotted down is 60,272 pounds. I'm going to add 400 pounds to that number. That's just an estimate, and it's going to help us figure out more or less what we are estimated to weigh at our top of descent. So if I'm saying 60,272, add 400 to that. So 60,672 should be more or less what I weigh at my top of descent. Come back into the performance charts here. I'm going to skip down a ways and get down into the descent area. The other thing we need to know for our descent is what isochart we're going to be using, and that is going to come from the Denver current temperature. So I'm going to skip down to the Denver METAR, currently 30 degrees Celsius in Denver. Now I just know off the top of my head that the Denver elevation is 5,400 feet at the airport. So what is ISA supposed to be in Denver based on 5,400 feet elevation? We're basically minusing off 10 degrees. So if we go 2 degrees for every 1,000 feet we go up, so that means we get up to 5,000 feet, we're going to be 10 degrees off ISA. So And since it is even a little bit higher, we're going to actually bump it up to 11 degrees. So ISA in Denver should be 4 degrees Celsius. That's what it should be. But it's not. It's 30 degrees. So how much warmer are we than ISA? Well, we are 26 degrees warmer. So it is ISA plus 26 in Denver, meaning that we are going to use the highest descent ISA chart as well. So here we are, ISA minus 10, ISA plus 10, plus 10, plus 20. Plus 20, okay, good. Here we are. So we are at 60,672 pounds. So we're basically going to round that up and pretend that it's 61,000. And then remember, we're at flight level 270 descending down. So we are going to need to average these two boxes here. I'm just going to put this highlight around them. We need to take an average of those two boxes. Now remember that our climb and cruise, or sorry, our climb and descent charts give us the fuel total, as you know, for both engines, unlike our cruise charts. So all of the information it's giving us here is the exact time, the exact distance, and the exact amount of fuel. So the only three things we need here. So as far as time goes, this one says 10.7, this one says 10.9, so we're going to use 10.8. We already know that's the average. For the total distance, this one says 62.9, the other one says 64.4. Divide those by 2, average them, so 63.7 is what we'll use there. So I'm going to start transferring some of this stuff over. Disregard the yellow box there for a minute. I'm going to get a few of these things already plugged in here. So 63.7 is going to be the distance. The total time is going to be 10.8. Okay, as far as the burn goes, let's go back into the chart. So 178 and 182. So that sounds like 180 to me. And then our speed is 354 on both of them. So the burn is only 180. And that's all we need to put in there for right now, other than let's just fill in this information over here, which is 354. If you want to jump back and take a look at your actual heading on that part and figure out where it is on your map, I'm going to get rid of that yellow box real quick. You come up to Denver. Now remember, 63.7 miles behind Denver. So what we're going to do is bring up that nav log again that we already had up, come to the bottom down here, start in Denver, and go backwards. So these are your distances out here. Okay, so going backwards from Denver, we got 10.6 to the Falcon VOR, and then from Falcon to the Hugh intersection is also another 10.6, and then from Hugh to Paid is 16.8, from Paid to Larks is 13.6, from Larks to Murphy is 11.2. That's going to get us pretty close. At that point, all the way back to the Murphy intersection, we're now at 62.8 miles. So it's about a mile before the Murphy intersection. So if we come back in here, there's Larks. See if we can figure out don't know if Murphy shows. Yeah, there it is. If you go to the low chart, you can actually see the Murphy intersection. It's right there. So our top of descent starts just before this Murphy intersection. Anyway, so now we've got that figured out. So from that Murphy intersection, if you look back at our nav log, as you're coming in from Murphy here, look at your heading, magnetic heading here. Basically 42, 43. So if you want to look at it more directly in sky vector, you're coming off of that 220 radial. So you're basically heading 042 is more or less, or you don't have to be exact once again because you're not even doing wind on this particular one, but just filling the rest of this in. Magnetic course, we'll just put it as 040. Remember, we were still using Denver was ISA plus 26. The wind correction angle is staying the same. We're still at 040, and ground speed is still going to be 354. So we've got all that data in there. That's all good. So now we can actually go back up and start doing the middle part of the route and figure out all of the in-between part. So now on this next part, we've got our top of climb figured out. So this next leg is going to be top of climb to Albuquerque. And that's going to be, let's go take a look on sky vector what route that is actually on. It looks to me like it's mostly on this. Well, actually, in this case, we're technically, because our SID goes all the way, our SID transition is Albuquerque, so technically, even at this point, we're still on the St. John's 8. Only difference here is that we are at flight level 270 now, and the rest of it, we don't know yet. So what we need to do here now is go figure out our winds for just this particular leg. So we're going to jump in. Here's Phoenix, here's Zuni, here's Albuquerque, here's Alamosa. These are the ones that I have chosen to use. I've already gone through and averaged these together, the ones that I'm using. So if you want to take a look back at my route, you can see that starting in Phoenix, here's Zuni, so that's one of the winds aloft stations I'm using. There's Albuquerque. I go right over Albuquerque as I continue north. I use Alamosa, which is right there, and then I'm using Denver, my destination. So those are the ones that I chose to use. So from my Phoenix to top of climb, remember we don't do winds on that particular route, other than just the only time we average any of those together is for our simplified, which we've already done. But now just for this particular leg, I'm going to use Zuni and Albuquerque and average those two together. Like I said, I've already gone in here and done the calculation because I'm at flight level 270, so I took 240 and 300 flight levels and using Phoenix, Zuni, Albuquerque, Alamosa, and Denver, I averaged all of those together to come up with these numbers here for flight level 270. So Zuni says that it's 320, 24 knots, minus 28 degrees. Albuquerque's 325 at 29 knots, minus 27 degrees. So they're pretty close. So for this particular leg, and if you even want to put it down here in your notes, you can go top of climb to Albuquerque just so you can transfer it later. The averages between those two, so if you want to say wind 323 at well, let's just keep it at 28 just to be a little more limiting, and then we'll keep our temperature also warmer at minus 27. So that's the wind that we're dealing with for that particular leg. Now we need to know what our heading is that we're going to be using on this leg. So coming back into here from, let's look at my nav log here. Oops, I didn't need to do that. Sorry, go back out, turn this one on. Okay, so from Phoenix all the way to Albuquerque, it's basically saying we're doing 056. So we can kind of keep with that general heading. That's the heading we want to be on. You can see once we leave the St. John's VOR, it says we're on 059. So when we leave this one, we're on 054. Now remember, our top of climb is somewhere in this area. So we're basically still 054 from this spot to here, and then 059 from St. John's to Albuquerque. So if we want, we can maybe average that out and say just say 057, just to compensate just a little bit for this portion here of the top of climb to St. John's. Okay, so top of climb to St. John's, we're doing heading 057. So what we need to do also first is let's figure out what ISA is supposed to be at this flight level. So 270, what is ISA supposed to be at 27,000 feet? It is supposed to be negative 39 degrees. So we are negative 27. So we are ISA plus 12. Write that into it if we want. ISA plus 12 for this leg, so we're going to have to round that up to ISA plus 15 on our cruise charts. Okay, so let's go take a look. And now looking back at this real quick, 63,927, so we weigh 64,000 pounds. I'm going to go into my performance chart, going up to a cruise chart now. Going to be ISA plus 15, and we weigh 64,000 pounds. So here we go. Here's ISA plus 15, cruise 0.77, 64,000 pounds over here, and 27,000 feet. So once again, this is nice because we're all in the same box here. Okay. So there's only three things that we want to take off of this. First is we want our pounds of fuel per engine per hour on this, and then our, well, really only two things, sorry, they're pounds per engine per hour and our true airspeed. Okay, so at 270 on this far right column, we are burning 2,087 pounds per hour, and our true airspeed is 474. So we want to input that information in. We're just going to keep it all on this same leg here. 2,087 pounds. Now that's per engine, remember, so 2087. If we go ahead and times that by 2, we're going to get our total burn, which is 4,170, oops, let me erase that, 4,174 pounds per hour at that flight level. And our true airspeed is 474. Let's go back, double check those numbers real quick. Okay, looks good to me. So we've got that part of it figured out. The other part that now we need to figure out is how far is the distance on this particular leg. So let's go back to Sky Vector for just a minute here. Now we already know that from Phoenix to top of climb is 106 nautical miles. If you look here on your mini log, from Phoenix to Albuquerque is 275.9 miles total. So this is really easy to figure out your distance on this lake. Take the 275.9 and minus out 106. That means this particular leg is 169.9 miles. So let's get back into our chart here. True airspeed here, 474. Remember our magnetic course here was 057 that we wanted to use. Our wind, 323 at 28. And then we're using our temperature of minus 28. Okay, we don't know the magnetic heading yet, nor do we know the ground speed. We do know the total distance of 169.9. I'll go ahead and put that in there. Okay, nothing else we know yet though. So now we need to figure out what our wind correction angle is, and going to do that using the whiz wheel. So I'm going to try and make this work the best that I can here. I'm going to turn this thing onto camera mode, so bear with me for just 1 second here. Okay, so I'm going to try and do this here as best as I can. Hopefully you can see it well. So here's my whiz wheel. I am a little bit twisted to the side on this, so but I think hopefully this is recording it good. Okay, so what we have starting off here with the whiz wheel is I'm going to make a mark. First of all, I need to adjust this to where my wind is. So now my wind is coming from 3, 2, 3. So I'm going to put it right there. And it was at 23 knots. So what I'm doing is I am counting up 10, 20, so 10, 20, 3. Putting a little bit of a cross there. Okay, and now I'm going to basically adjust this. Hopefully you can see that good. Now I'm going to adjust this to my heading. So I am heading 056. So 057 on this route. So 057 right there. Okay, so on this particular route, I'm trying to see if you can actually get up in there and see that. You can see the cross just to the left where I marked it. So it's looking like this is a direct crosswind. So if I want, I can go up to my true airspeed now, which is going to be 474. So there's 450, 460, 470, 474 would be right in there. And as far as the speed goes, nothing really changes too much on it. So that's the whiz wheel way of doing it. Based on the whiz wheel, it's looking like, if you want to count your wing or your wind correction, it'd be 1, 2, between a 2 and a 3 degree left wing correction. So instead of 057, I would be heading like 054 in order to stay, but it's looking like it's a direct crosswind. So I'm going to punch these numbers into the calculator and just see what I get on this one. So on my calculator, you probably can't see that very good, but I know you guys know how to do this part on your own calculator. So my course is 057. True airspeed is 474. The wind direction is 323, and the wind speed is 23. So it's actually showing me that it is a 1 knot tailwind instead. Got the wind correction angle correct of -3, so heading 054, and ground speed is 475. So it's looking like a 1 knot tailwind. So now back into this. So I just realized that I did 23 instead of 28 on that speed, that wind speed. So it's not going to change anything that I did on the actual whiz wheel. The only difference is that it's just going to increase the crosswind. So let me fix that real quick. So going to 28. Okay, so it's still only a 1 knot tailwind. Actually, it doesn't change anything. Everything stays the same. It's still a 1 knot tailwind and still a -3 on the wind correction angle. So heading 054, and it was a -3, and it's basically saying that our ground speed is 475. Okay, very good. So now, if we are going, bring up the calculator here, move it over here a little bit. So we're going 169.9 miles, and we're going 475. So all we do is take that distance, divide it by 475, and this is to get our time now. Okay, so total time here is going to be 0.3577. So I need to convert that to minutes. So remember 0.3577, I'm going to take 60 minutes and times it by 0.3577. That's going to tell me it's 21.46 minutes. We will round that to 21.5. So 21.5 on the minutes. Now, the other thing was that, going back to this, we're burning 4,174 pounds per hour. So let's figure out that burn. So I got my calculator. 4174. Go ahead and divide that by 60 because you want to know how many pounds you're burning per minute. That's going to be 69.56, and then you can just leave that on there and now just simply times that by 21.5. That's going to be your fuel burn. 1495.68. We'll just round that to 1496. Type it in, and we are done with that leg. Now take our 63,927 and minus out our burn. 63,927 minus 1496. It's going to mean our weight for the next leg is 62,431. 62,431. Okay, that is the weight that we weigh on the next leg. So let's go figure out what our next leg is going to be. We know it's Albuquerque to something, so let's just take a look. So from Albuquerque, we go straight up to Alamosa there. Total distance between Albuquerque and Alamosa is 146, so that seems like it's probably going to be a good leg for us just to go ahead and use that. VOR is right to VOR, so let's just type it in, Albuquerque to ALS. Now all of that is going to be on J13. We are still at flight level 270, and the rest of it we don't know. Let's go figure out our winds. Here we are, Albuquerque and Alamosa. So now I'm going to come down to a new line here. This is going to be Albuquerque to Alamosa. Our winds average on this leg 325 and 295, so it's a difference of 30. So let's call it 310 at, let's see, 29 and 18, so difference of 11. So we'll add 6. So we'll say that it is 25. I'm sorry, 24. Then temperatures, 27, 28, we'll just leave that at 28. We already know what ice is supposed to be at that level. It's supposed to be negative 39, so that means it's plus 11, so we know we're still using the ISA plus 15 cruise chart. Okay, so let's go take a look at what that cruise chart says for us. Okay, so now we weigh, go back to what we weigh, 62,431. So 62,431 is going to round us to 63. So we are going to be in between on this one, but we're going to be still at flight level 270. So we're just going to be an average of these two boxes right here. I will highlight them just in case you can't see which ones I'm looking at. Okay, so we just need the two numbers here. We need to average 2074 and 2087. That's going to be 2080.5. Then we're going to times that by 2. That's going to be 4161 for our burn. Oops, wrong one. So 4161 pounds per hour, and our true airspeed is still 474. Okay, we've got that now. Let's jump back into this. Actually, let's go to Sky Vector. Let's get rid of that. Sky Vector. So from Albuquerque to Alamosa, we're going to be on the same heading the entire time. It is 006. Pretty easy on that one. 474, still the true airspeed. 006 is our magnetic course. Our winds are 310 at 24. Oops. And still using minus 28 on the temperature. Okay. So now we are back to the whiz wheel again. So let me reconfigure. Okay, so back to the whiz wheel here. We are going to be putting in our wind first. So the wind, what we're using is 310. So I'm going to align my top there at 310, and it was 24 knots. So I'm going to count up here. 10, 24. So I'm going to put my little mark there in the middle. Okay, so 310 at 24. And now I'm heading 006. I'm going to switch this around to my heading. Let's see, there's true north, there's 5, there's 6. Okay, so if I move this up, I'm going to move this up to, I'm going to put, so the X is on my true airspeed, my little cross that I made. I'm going to put that on the true airspeed of 474. So there's 460, there's 470, and then roughly 474 right there. So what it's looking like to me is that it's a headwind. It looks like my ground speed is going to be 460, and it looks like this is about a 14 knot headwind. with a 1, 2, between a 2 and a 3 wind correction angle. Not far enough over there. Hopefully everybody can see that. I'm going to verify this on the computer on my phone here. Just a minute. Let me do that. Okay, so my course says 6, true airspeed still 474. Wind direction is 310 at 24. Yeah, so ground speed 460, wind correction angle -2. So it's a 14 knot headwind, wind correction angle is -2. So we were able to get that one right on. Okay, so for -2, that means we're at 004, and it was a -2, and our ground speed is 460. And that total distance on this leg from Albuquerque to Alamosa is 146.4. You can get that right off of Sky Vector. So 146.4. So how long is it going to take us to go 146.4? Well, let's bring up the calculator. 146.4. Divide that by our ground speed of 460. It's going to be that 0.3183. So remember 0.3183. So I'm going to take 60 minutes, times it by 0.3183. It's going to be 19.1 minutes. So let's go ahead and plug that in. 19.1. And if I am going 19.1 minutes, let's bring up that fuel burn, which was 4,161 pounds per hour. So 4161, let's divide that by our minutes. 69.35 per minute, and times it by 19.1 minutes. That's going to give us a burn of 1,324. We'll just round that to 5, so 1325. Done with that leg. Now let's total up our ongoing aircraft weight here. Okay, so we weighed 62,431, and we're going to minus out 1325. So we now weigh 61,106. Okay, good. Let's go figure out the next leg. I'm pretty sure the next leg, we're just going to go Alamosa to our top of descent. That is going to be, remember Alamosa was the transition that we're using, so that's going to be via the Larks 8, and it's all going to be at flight level 270. If you jump back in here into our performance charts, we're now rounding up to 62,000 because we're 61,106, so we'll just go 62,000. We're at 27,000 feet. So here we go. We're using 2,074 pounds per hour, true airspeed of 474. So those two things we know. However, let's go figure out our wind first. Let's go Alamosa to Denver. So this, let me back that up, go right there. Alamosa to Denver, it's going to be 295 and 300, so we'll just call that, we'll just call it 298. And 18 and 25 knots, so it's a difference of 7. So we'll just say we'll just minus 3 off of the 25, and we'll just call it 22 knots, and we'll call it minus 29 on the temperature. So we know that that is now going to be ISA plus 10. So that actually is going to put us onto a different chart. So good thing that we actually did that before we did any other calculations. So let's go back into the charts here now. So that's ISA plus 15. There's ISA plus 10. There's also ISA plus 10, and there's 62,000 pounds and 27,000 feet. So it's going to be 2046 and a true airspeed of 469. So the burn is 2046. I'm going to times that by 2. Which is going to be 4,092. 469 is the true airspeed. Okay, let's go back into Sky Vector, figure out what our heading is. So on this heading leaving Alamosa, heading up towards intersection, let's just see what our actual direction is. So it's not giving us an actual one off of here, so we are going to need to go into the nav log, take a look from Alamosa to this Canaan intersection. It looks like that heading is let's see, so it looks like the heading is 339. It looks like the actual track is 352. So we're going to go off of the 352. And if you ever have an issue and you want to figure that out even a little bit easier, you can also, once again, you can just clear your route out of here, and you can just go Alamosa to this Canaan. Then you can look at it there. It actually shows 339 on that course. So yeah, so 339 would have been the right one if you're looking at that nav log. So 339 is our heading coming off of Alamosa to the Canaan here, and then if you clear that out and then you go from there to the Murphy intersection. Remember our I'm going to go back here for just 1 second. Okay, because this one just does get a little bit trickier just because it does take a good turn here. So basically from Alamosa up to this, looks like it is the, looks like it's the Hickey intersection, and then from Hickey to Taro we go to 40 degrees. So the majority of this is going to be that heading 3, basically a heading of 340, because you average the 339 and the 342, and then you're turning right for a few miles and heading at 40. So overall, if you wanted to go with an average of, say, maybe 3, we can call it maybe 348, even 350, if we wanted to be okay. I mean, it's not going to change much on the fuel, so you don't have to get too scientific here. I'm just trying to get a good average heading, because our top of climb starts right up in this area here section. So our heading on this section is really very, very short. So the Hickey to the, let's see, Hickey to Taro is not very long. Actually, I'm going to go Hickey to Murphy and just see where that is. It's only 34 miles, so we only go on that heading for 34 miles. And the other heading that we're doing is basically Alamosa to Hickey, which is 46.1. So they're pretty, I guess they're pretty even if you look at it that way. Oh, sorry, it's 86. I'm looking at the wrong thing. 86 miles from Alamosa to Hickey, and then 36 from Hickey to Murphy. So yeah, we'll just go with an average heading of 350 on that. So I'm coming back into here. My true airspeed is 469. Magnetic course I want is 350. That wind was 298 at 22. And it's negative 29. Okay, so back to the whiz wheel. So 298 at 22, need to remember that, and then I'm heading 350. Okay, here we are on the whiz wheel, getting rid of that previous mark. Okay, so go back down to 400. So I'm going to go with my wind first, which was 298 at 23. So I've got it at 298, and 10, 20, put my little cross there on 23. Okay, now I'm going to go to my heading of 350, right there. And then I'm going to take that up to my true airspeed. I'm putting this cross on my true airspeed of 469. So there's 450, 460, 469. Okay, so I'm looking like a wind correction angle of -2, and looks like a headwind because it looks like my ground speed is 453. So 469 to 453. So I'm looking like about a 16 knot headwind. So let's verify that. My course is 350, true airspeed is 469, wind direction is 298, 23. So it shows my ground speed of 454, so I was 1 off, wind correction angle -2. So it looks like a 15 knot headwind with a wind correction angle of -2. Okay, so for -2, that's going to put us at 348. Ground speed of 454. Okay, so let's figure out how long that particular leg was. So Alamosa to Hickey is 86. And then from Hickey to Murphy is 34.4. But now we're going to minus off 1.7 miles because our top of descent was 1.7 miles before Murphy. So this total leg for this is now 118.7. Okay, so how long does it take us to go 118.7 miles if we're going 454? I'm going to divide that by 454. And remember the decimal 0.2615. 0.2615. So 60 minutes times 0.2615. It's going to be 15.7 minutes. Then the total burn here, if I'm burning 4092 per hour, 4092 divide 60, 68.2 pounds per minute, times that by 15.7 minutes. That'll be a burn of 1,071. We'll round it up. Now let's round up our weight. So 61,106 minus 1071 puts us at a weight of 60,035. Oops. Okay, that's what we weigh there. Now let's bring this down to here, and we're going to go all the way to the bottom. I'm going to put our total weight now. So 60,035 minus off the 180 pounds for our descent puts us at a landing weight of 59,855. Okay. Add up our total distances here. So I have 106 plus 169.9 plus 146.4 plus 118.7 plus 63.7. Got a total distance of 604.7. Total time of 17.9 plus 21.5 plus 19.1 plus 15.7 plus 10.8 equals 85 minutes. So 1.416 hours, which equals 25 minutes. So 1 hour and 25 minutes. And total burn here that we're going with is 1886 plus 1496 plus 1325 plus 1071 plus 180 equals a total burn of 5,958. Okay, so just comparing these two numbers, all of these numbers actually, my simplified burn number was 5,700. So I'm coming up with 5958, so I'm off by 258 pounds. That's within the acceptable range. The 1 hour 25 minutes, I think I came up with 1 hour 31 minutes originally, so that's close. 59,855 on my landing weight. I came up with 60,272. So that, let's see, is a difference of 417 pounds. So you can see the big difference on this was really just the flight level 270. There wasn't much wind that we were dealing with, but it's really the flight level 270 was the big factor on this flight plan. So if you take all of those numbers and put them into, basically plug them all into this. As I showed all of this on the end of Saturday's video. But now at this point you are done calculating everything and can just simply put your numbers where you need to put them, transfer them all over, and finish filling out the rest of your forms, and you should be good. So hopefully this helps in figuring out your wind calculations on your legs, and hopefully can do it in a little bit less confusing manner than it was the 2 days that we tried to do it in class and had to try to rush through it. So if anybody watches this has any questions or any more questions, or even a different video that you'd like me to maybe focus on and just specifically show you one particular thing like today's item, please let me know. I can definitely get something done and get something recorded and posted for you guys to be able to watch. So anyway, that's how you do all the wind calculations. Hopefully this helps, and let me know if you have any more questions or issues.